So I never know when it's live because we're going live. It's going live. It's going live. Now. Ready now?
Now.
Now is it live?
I think now.
Now it's live?
I think it's
You
live
now?
now.
Live now.
Now.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
All right. Hi, everybody.
You have to go back to Zoom.
It's me, Jennifer from Little Metal Foxes, and
Julia from Little Metal Foxes.
That's right. And we are here in my studio.
Live
in my studio today. Hooray. So that we can show you how to make a paper mandrel. Because sometimes you just got to know how to put stuff together. There you go.
Yep.
So
if you want to measure a ring that is not round, you can do it with a paper mandrel. Whoop, cameras.
There you go.
So that way, you put the paper mandrel inside a non-round ring, and then it will tell you this is, put it on a little better, about a size 8, right? But if you put this ring onto a regular mandrel, it's going to tell you this ring is a size 5.
Which it's not.
Which it's patently not, because I can put it on this finger, and this finger is like a size
right
7.5 or 8.
Right. So if you're making something that's got a stone setting on top, or has an unusual shape of some kind,
right? This
is a
really good example, because it's this really funny shape, because it's
a triangle.
Yes, exactly. Can you make the screen?
Oh, sure, yeah.
There we go. That makes that feel better. Or if you're doing something like this, which is also kind of an odd shape, you can use your paper mandrel
to
measure it.
So one of the things that I thought was really kind of cool about this, especially with things that, I've got some rings that aren't quite, they're not solid, or I have a lot of found object rings, or things that have an organic fit to them. So, how do you know what size they are? And how do you get a size to fit when you don't know? Because I've got a whole bunch of other rings over there that the way that the shank on the ring fits onto the back of the stone setting is not, like a round ring is soldered to the setting. So some of them are open on the back, like that one, where where it's raised up off the finger slightly. So how do you know what size they really are? Because they don't really fit.
Right. Yeah.
On a mandrel completely. Yeah. So it's like whoop, raised up like that. So yeah, or something that's a little more, a little wonkier shape, almost a triangle shape, or a square ring, if you're doing something on a square mandrel. And I don't even think square mandrels are marked for size usually. Yeah, no.
I have a square mandrel. They're not really square. They're more shaped like your finger, which is like kind of a fat trapezoid sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not marked. They're not sized. So you're not gonna be able to figure out. Even if you have a square mandrel, you can make a ring with a square shank on a square mandrel, but you cannot size it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I know.
So
yes. It's like unicorn happy money. Cornet. It's a cornet. Or a horn.
Or a horn. Or a ring mandrel.
Or a ring mandrel.
Okay. So show us how this works. Because I know you put this together and you had some tricks for
it. Right. I like whipped this out this morning.
All right, let's see. We're gonna do this down here. Down there.
Switch to here. Okay, so here's your ring mandrel. And the first thing you want to do, basically what you're going to make is a sleeve that fits over the mandrel, right? And then it comes off, and then you can use this separately to try to get into the camera. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just take a regular old piece of paper. This was just some.
Now, this, I do want to note something here, because this is kind of interesting. So this is the difference between my mandrel and Julia's mandrel. Which mine definitely needs to be cleaned, but mine also is engraved and sized into the surface. And so this can be a problem if you're trying to forge a ring on here.
Yeah.
Because this will come off on the inside of the ring.
They'll leave marks.
Right. Yeah. But your mandrel is laser etched.
I guess.
It's laser engraved. So you've got
it does have
very subtle.
Yeah, it does have marks, but it's much more subtle.
Yeah.
Right.
So the laser engraving on this is so much more subtle that it doesn't, because I'll have rings get stuck on mine on the, like putting them down, it'll stop on the marks because
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
So
Okay.
so a smooth mandrel like this, you don't have that problem.
And I actually have, in addition to this mandrel, I have a completely smooth mandrel
I do
that's
too,
unmarked, right? So that when I'm forming something on a mandrel, but I have to hammer all the way around it, I'm doing it on a smooth mandrel, so
Right.
that I'm not running into any, you know, because even with
Well, you don't want to damage your, yeah, you don't want to
damage the laser.
So these are good for sizing, but
Mhm.
you don't necessarily need to use these for forging.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
because that would, if you start hammering on that laser, it'll
Eventually,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Like I said, I usually. So this is just a piece of scratch paper,
right.
and what I'm going to do is wrap it, kind of wrap it around, and you can see I made a little pencil mark there already. But I'm going to sort of roll the paper around it. And what I want to do is cut off some of the excess. I don't want all of this extra paper on here. So I want to get it as tight on here as I can. And then I'm going to make a line and just cut it off so that I don't have quite so much extra paper. Actually,
Yeah, because having that much bulk on there will change the size.
It'll change the size. Exactly. So I'm going to cut this off. So. And then we're going to wrap it around again. And I want to get it as tight on the mandrel as I can.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah, my question was, how do you transfer the, if it's wrapped around your mandrel, how do you transfer your sizes onto the mandrel if the mandrel's covered up, right?
Right.
So you have to have another tool.
You have to have another tool to do this. So this is just a little bit of magic tape that I'm really just using to get it as tight as I can on here. Right, just to hold it. I only have like 3 pieces just to hold it. And actually I cut that off just about perfect.
Yeah,
that's the right one.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so now we need a set of ring gauges, right? And we're going to go to the biggest one, which is size 15. So this is a size 15, and this goes down to a size 1, I think.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so this goes down from 15 to 1.
So the other thing that's important to note about the ring gauges is that if it has a slash after it,
yes,
it means it's the half size.
Yeah, so this one here, which says 14 minus is what it looks like, actually means it's 14 and a half. It's 14 plus. It's bigger than 14 because you see how here's 15, here's the 14 minus, and here's 14, right? So
anything that has like 14 minus or 9 minus, that's a half size.
Right. So here we have 15, 14 and a half. I can get it so you can actually read it. There we go. There's 14 and a half. And then 14, right? Yeah. So the half sizes are the 14 minus, but they're actually bigger.
There you go.
Okay. So then what we're going to do is take these and slip them onto our paper mandrel, like so. Change my focus. I'm going to slip it onto the paper mandrel like so. And then you need to be consistent about whether you're going over or under. And I think you need to go underneath because you want this. Obviously, the paper is adding some thickness, and then this isn't able to slide down quite as far. So,
well, and if you're measuring something on like a wide band, you're measuring that middle diameter.
You're measuring the middle diameter.
So with this, it is better to mark it at the bottom.
Right. So we're going to mark it at the bottom. All right, so we got 14, 15, and you want the paper to be on the mandrel, right? We're going to skip the intermediate size and go to the next whole size. All right, so that was 15. Now we're going to do 14.
And you don't have to even mark it all the way around. Just be consistent with marking it top or marking it on the bottom. Makes more sense.
Yeah, actually, you're right. For speed's sake, I'm just going to mark it on one side.
Yeah.
Okay, come up to the next one. So 13.
There you go.
12.
If you're not doing a lot of big rings either, you don't even have to make, a full mandrel. You could make it like if your biggest size that you make is like a 9, you might want to make it a little bit bigger than that, so you can kind of tell what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily need to go all the way to the tiniest size. Oops, did I get that? I'm getting out of it. But you do need to spend a little bit of time doing this, because the whole point of this is to have this be a measuring device. So if you don't spend some time doing this, you aren't going to have anything to use to measure.
Well, and then too, you don't know, if you're not being consistent about it, you don't know exactly, you won't be able to size accurately, right? So you're like, well, I don't know, it's kind of a 9. It's sort of a 7. It's mostly a 7. But a lot of people do like to make, unusual shapes. And again, if you're doing something that's, got a flat top, or it's got a, ring shank on the bottom, or, something that's, a crazy shape, it's going to make a difference on your size.
Exactly. 7. See, if we were filming this in advance and then, editing it, we would edit out this part and you would just see it go super fast. But that's okay. You're having to watch the whole
seeing it in real time.
Seeing it in real time.
Well, and I think, sometimes people see the things on Instagram and they're like, oh, look, they made it in like 30 seconds.
Jewelry making is never 30
in
seconds.
Real time. In
Yeah.
real time.
IRT, IRL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's there. You want to try to get them even too. Sometimes they'll get onto the mandrel a little bit crooked.
Yeah.
So you want to try to get them.
Last one. Here it is.
It's a size 3, so we'll quit at size 3.
Yeah. So you can work within your range. You don't have to make it.
Okay. Now this is very important. Last thing I'm going to do is mark all of them. So 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay. Now, to make it last a little bit longer, we're going to use some packing tape, right? This is just regular 3M packing tape, strapping tape, clear stuff. What I have found is that you have to start at a really steep angle to wrap around the paper, because if you start at a really shallow angle, it very quickly, because it's tapered, it very quickly just starts overlapping itself more than you want. So I am going to try this as an angle. Let's see if this will work. Here. Now. Around, because I want it to be as smooth as possible. I actually missed a bit, but that's okay.
You can go back around. There you go.
That worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
I have a little space here, which doesn't have any tape on it. But I can make a little strip to go on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to make sure you don't have any
you want it to be
wrinkles
as well. So let's see, where's it end? It's here. Back in the picture. All right. Then I need to cut the tape off. Get off of the mandrel. The tape stuck to it. Back a little bit. Come on.
Like that.
Now it's just stuck on there. Gotta get all the tape loops. There we go.
There you go. All
And
right.
then generally what I'll do is just trim the bottom edge off with the scissors. Like that. And you can trim the tip off here. There you go.
That's great.
All done.
Great. Now we have matching ones.
I know.
So now this ring that is a triangle shape.
Right. And slip it on. And you slip it down until it sort of fills the. I'll show you from the other end because I think it's more visible.
So like that area.
Right. So it's sort of filling up the space.
But it's filling it like your finger.
Like your finger would.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So where you're not necessarily filling all the corners, your ring would fit like that on the finger.
On the finger.
Right.
But it has definitely compressed. You can see that it has had to compress. But that's what your finger would do a little bit too. Your finger would compress a little bit.
Yeah.
Like my finger doesn't.
Sits up, it does the same thing, right? Right there.
Sits up off the finger a little bit.
Yeah. So same with something like this then, right? Because it's kind of sits up high off the finger.
Right.
Right.
So this one too.
Yeah.
You know.
So you can see how it like here would sit up off the finger a little bit.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's compressing the same way your finger would.
Right.
So this is a great idea, I think, for unless you have something that's made out of some weird gel like your finger. This is great.
And then because it's got the plastic on it, this, will survive.
Last a little bit.
It'll last a little bit longer. I did get a little bit of a wrinkle in here, but
But it's, I mean,
you can always make another one.
Oh yeah, and you're working with approximates, when you're working with things that aren't exactly round, right? Because, for something like this, this has got, quite a cantilevered top on it. It looks like on the hard mandrel, it only goes to a 5, but let's see on the paper by itself, it's probably a 6.
Probably like 5.5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because the material squishes up in between. Right?
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. I love this one as the example. This is like your classic example of a ring that is you're never gonna figure this out using a round mandrel.
And if you measured this to be the ring size, like if you measured that strip to be an 8, because of the way that it sits up off the finger, it would be too small.
It would be too small. Exactly. So yeah, so that's another thing. And if you're making rings like this and you're trying to get them to a very particular size, you're going to have to do some prototyping. You're going to have to, make a piece that's this sort of shape, and then squish it into the shape that you want, and then figure out, what does it fit on.
Right.
The other thing you can do is you're on your own hands, is you can make a map on your own hands of what your ring sizes are.
Oh,
so you can take your ring sizers and you can say, okay, well, here's a size 10. What part of what finger is a size 10? Right. On my hand. So it's like, well, my right thumb is kind of in that ballpark. And then if you want to know for the really small ones, because I don't have fingers that are like a size 3, like what portion of what finger is a size 3?
Oh, that's smart.
So the second knuckle of my right pinky is a size 3.
Right.
So if I'm trying to make something be a particular size, I can use, that was traditionally actually what a lot of jewelers did. They just knew like where the rings fit, and they would just be like, oh, okay, this is
needs to be that big.
That must be a 6 because it fits on my pinky.
Right. Yeah. Right. So yeah, and practical application of this is a lot of people are making rings that have, a broader cabochon set with a shank that doesn't like go completely underneath because the ring's open in the back.
Right.
So with something like that, it's like, how do you figure out how big it is? Well, this will tell me that's an 8, right? So this just makes it a little bit easier to kind of figure that out.
Exactly.
And if you've got, something you're trying to, work out and you've got your cabochon on there, you can actually there we go. You can actually use, paper or something and model it out or two. So, yeah.
So that's it. Super easy peasy. Make yourself a paper mandrel, squishable.
Yeah.
If the dog chews it up,
magic.
Make a new one. I know.
Well, thank you. Thanks. That really solves a lot of problems for people that are making rings that don't fit anybody, or you don't know how big they are, or you've got rings sitting out there that are cast or wax made that you're like, I have no idea how big it is because I did it, just free-formed.
It was a Mitsuru.
Yeah, it's a Mitsuru ring. I have no idea.
No idea what size.
Exactly. Yeah. Or I found this thing and I don't know how big it is. Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Julia. Thanks for coming over to the studio.
And it was fun. I got to hang out with my bestie for a minute.
We get to make things. We get to make our unicorn horns. So yes. So yeah, if you need to make a paper mandrel, that's how you do it right there.
Get
Yay!
the numbers around so you can see them.
There we go, right there. See, you can make one too.
You can make one
There
too.
we go. Pretty favors. All right, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you next week. Make sure you like this video, please. And make sure, and you can share it with people, let them know.
Comment on it.
Comment on it if
Ask
you have questions. And if you've got, another way that you do this, if you've got another solution, we would love to hear it. So give us some feedback. Let us know what you think. And
I always like to learn new stuff.
yeah, we do too. Yeah, absolutely. So let us know. And